info.
Well, can we greet you good morning?
Yes, good morning to you.
If you're just joining us, here's your good morning. But if you've been here all morning, well, here's your extra good morning. And welcome to the Morning Crossfire. All of those charges the banks have been taking from us, ATM withdrawal limits and fees and charges, ATM maintenance, transfer fees, and now stamp duty collected on POS, 15 naira for transactions over 1,000 naira. All of those will be our conversation for the next hour. Bank charges and cash policy. How will this work? Is this helping us or taking us back? And what should we really be doing? You're welcome to the show, and we're live on Facebook and also on YouTube at Nigeria Info FM. You can watch us there and also leave us your comments and thoughts on the conversation today. If you're reaching us over Twitter, you can use the hashtag Morning Crossfire, and our WhatsApp number for your comments 08095975805 08095975805. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, wherever you're listening to us from once again. We've been joined in the studio by Zil Akarewe. He's a financial analyst. He joins us live from our studios. You can see him, actually, if you're watching online. Good morning, Zil.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so ATM charges. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. Card maintenance fee. Well, anytime I see that alert, card maintenance fee, something strikes me all the time. And other sundry charges that will come your way at the end of the month, even during the week. There have been major causes of controversies between banks and their customers, particularly in Nigeria over the years. In September 2017, a viral campaign was launched against Nigerian banks by customers who lamented how they were unduly debited for various fees. They were, you could say, largely referred to as ridiculous and unfair. The outrage prompted the Nigerian Senate to frown at these various charges and withdrawal limits. The Senate asked banks to allow for a limit of 40,000 naira maximum per withdrawal through an ATM instead of 10,000 naira. Also, the Nigerian Senate then urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend the ATM card maintenance charges, which they still do. Have the charges then reduced? Now, the obvious answer is you and I, we both know, is no. So, with the introduction of charges on POS transaction, many businesses have now begun charging Nigerians, everybody, 50 naira for any transaction above 1,000 naira. The unbundling of merchant settlement amounts was contained in the CBN's circular to banks, processors, and switches titled, I will quote that now, Review of Process for Merchants' Collections on Electronic Transactions. The policy stipulates stamp duties payment on individual transactions that occur on POS rather than previous plans, where charges occurred on aggregate transactions. The circular, signed by CBN Director, Payment System Management Department, Sam Okojeri, authorized banks to unbundle merchant settlement amounts and charge applicable taxes and duties on individual transactions as stipulated by regulators. You should also know that merchant service charge was also reviewed downward from 0.75%, and it's capped at 1,200 naira, to 0.50%, capped at 1,000 naira. So that's why you get charged 50 naira per every 1,000 naira worth of transaction. Hence our discussion this morning.
Before we come over to Zil, who I'm sure is also itching to jump on this one, our newsroom went out to gather reports and speak to people about these charges and what they think. Many filling stations now have a sticker that warns you ahead of time. I told you what happened to me last week.
Yeah.
What the filling station did was to simply sell me fuel short of 50 naira.
Because you insisted that you're not going to
so I was arguing with them. So
50 naira.
while I was arguing, I saw the guy was done and I looked up, it was short 50 naira. And the guy said, well, it's what it is. So I couldn't do anything. But guys, let's listen to this report. We'll be back.
The idea is a bad idea, really, because it's the Nigerian government are trying to how do I put it? They are trying to extort us. And because right now, most people now are not using POS now. They don't use their card. I personally, I don't use. I've stopped it. Because how will I be? I will buy fuel. They will still deduct. It's not done. So we are not happy. Me personally, I'm not happy at all. So that's my view.
In Nigeria, somebody will just wake up in the morning and bring his notebook and this is what they want to be doing. And if we say we want to go to ATM and queue, your time will be wasting, your energy. So that's why we decided to be paying the 15 naira. So we'll be able to go to where we are going to in time. So that's what I can say about it.
What's your view about it? What do you want them to do?
Well, what we want them to do is better. It's good if they can stop it for us because it's unfair. Because 15 naira I can buy fuel 7 times in a day. Like I'm paying 15 naira every day. So it's unfair. That's too bad of it. So I think we need to plead to CBN on our behalf to stop about it. It's too much. It's unfair at all. But we don't have choice. That's why we're paying it.
The extra charge is costing us a lot. Because by using the POS every time, every moment, it will take you a lot of money. You will buy something on 1,000 naira, you pay 15 naira extra charge. Under 1,000 naira. Before you buy 5,000 naira a day, spend 500 naira extra. So I don't think it's something that is light.
Do you think this kind of policy is for the masses or for the rich?
It's for them alone. It's for the big men that don't want to continue to be rich.
I think there's other way that federal government should go about getting a tax from Nigerians, not by taxing here and there and there and there. Honestly speaking, it's not good. Honestly, to me, I see that as if they are still setting us back. I think what they should put in places before the charges of 15 naira, they should have been done first before pushing the tax back to the public. That's the only thing I can say about it.
We don't have anything of our own. See, the question of paying 15 naira on top of what you are buying, I don't feel that is good. The government should look into it. They are enslaving us. They are killing us. They give you with right hand, they take it with left hand. It's uncalled for.
Bad. It's very, very bad. So bad that I'm even trying to change my bank because of that. Because I don't know if it's all the bank that does it.
It's all the bank.
But it's very, very bad. So I think government should look into it and revise it. Because it's not helping us at all. It's not helping us. When you pay for everything, you pay money into your account, you pay. You withdraw money, you pay. You use your ATM card, you pay. Yesterday I tried to withdraw 20,000 naira from ATM. They couldn't pay me, which means they are trying to make it lesser so that someone can be withdrawn from 10,000. So you pay more charges. So it's bad. It's bad. Government should look into it because everybody is complaining. Nobody is happy about it. They are driving everybody into hardship. It's not fair. It's not fair to the people. People are suffering. So why are they just putting people more into suffering? So I'm not so happy about it.
Someone is so furious he wants to change his bank. I wonder where he's going to because all the banks have different charges. This reminds me of a report I did in January. In fact, it's here. I'm looking at it. It's pretty long. And I'm shocked that January this year was talking here about ATM withdrawal limits. I remember then the Senate committee, there was a committee set up to look into the ATM limits. It looked like banks had placed a limit on what you could withdraw from ATMs, 10,000 naira. So you have to do multiple withdrawals. Then we went into the heart of Eko to do this, where people spend a lot of money buying, and then if you're paying someone, say 200,000 naira and or even 70,000 naira, you have to withdraw 7 times. 65 naira charges multiplied by 7 times. That's pretty ridiculous.
And that got the Senate really furious at the time. They had to set up a committee, and the committee reviewed it and compelled banks to advise them, right? Advise them to put the ATM withdrawal at 40,000 naira, and some of them did, and later they've reverts back to the usual 10,000 naira, especially if you're not banking with a bank. If you're using other banks' ATM, it's 10,000 naira now, and you get to be charged the multiple of the times that you carry out transactions there. And again, Zio, let me start this way. How would you describe banking in Nigeria? Some have described it as...
It goes on.
some have said that it's some kind of extortionism kind of thing. Some have described it as lazy banking. Some have even said that it's standard banking. It's just what banking is world over. How would you describe banking in Nigeria?
Interesting. Well, banking is it depends on what aspect of banking you're talking about. But all the definitions, all the explanations you've given in different contexts are correct. You find some banking that's just absolute lazy banking. You find some banking that is what it is. The thing I think we have an issue with is we don't understand, or we don't realize, or we don't want to accept that a bank is a business. It's a business out to make money, full stop.
Right.
If by making money they help society, helping society is ancillary to their objective. Their objective is to make returns to shareholders, whether we like it or not. That is what they're out to do.
Maximum profit.
That's it. That's what they're out to do. It's a business. However, where I think I would place the responsibility, which is not zeal placing the responsibility, that's the responsibility by law, is the central bank, the regulator of the banks. The regulator of the bank is tasked with the responsibility to bring or provide policies, guidance, and direction so that the banks, in doing their business and in making money, make what is considered economically healthy money. As long as the central bank fails in that responsibility, and in my opinion they have, then you would find banks doing a lot more that hurts the people than aid the people. And it's not because their intention is to hurt the people. Their intention is, one, make as much money as they possibly can, while at the same time securing depositors' money. Don't forget, we put money in the bank.
Right.
Nobody wants to go to a bank and the bank is giving you excuses. They have to give you back your money. So while securing your money, they have to make sure whatever they're doing with your money stays secure, and at the same time give returns to their shareholders.
Right.
Now, if the central bank does not regulate how they do this and direct how they do it so that it's done in a healthy manner for the economy, then that is the central bank's failure.
Let's start one after the other. Look at these charges. We started off with the ATM already. So, yeah. So while I was doing that report, you can tell me if anything has changed. That was January this year. There was no regulation from the CBN whatsoever on ATM withdrawal limits. So, and when I spoke with the banks, what they said, I found a bit ludicrous, but it's what they said. It said, listen to this. So, when the ATMs are wired to be able to give you 40,000 naira.
Yep.
Maximum, withdrawal. But according to them, so this is quite technical. I spoke to the technical team of one of the banks and said, well, if the machine then needs to dispense 40,000 naira, it's more work for the machine. So the machine wears out more quickly. And so they'll rather reduce it to 10,000 naira so the machine doesn't have to do so much work swelling. And that's it.
Well, that is that's the equivalent of somebody telling you that I can't drive you from Lagos to Abuja because it's 800 kilometers. So what I will do is every day I will drive you 100 kilometers and park the car so that it rests. That is, like you said, absolutely ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense. If I'm going to count 40,000 naira, let's assume it's 1,000 naira bill. So the machine is going to count 40 notes. Whether it counts 40 notes at once or 40 notes
in pieces,
in 10 pieces, it's going to count 40 notes. It's going to roll 40 times. The way until it's going to rest in between, because after the 40 is going to rest. In any case, the manufacturers of the ATM allow it to disburse 40 notes maximum. Okay, 40 notes max. So if it's 500 naira, you may get only 20,000. Now, in his excuse, my bank, for example, if I use another bank's card, it would let me take a maximum of 10,000.
Right.
If I use that bank's card, it lets me take 40,000.
So what's the excuse?
So what is the excuse? Is it that your own, but one the wear and tear is
Let
less?
me tell you what the excuse might be. So you remember that if you're using
On
another
wear and tear, remember wear and tear.
Wear and tear, right.
What is the excuse on wear and tear if the bank recognizes its own card? There's no wear and tear.
Right.
It's an excuse, let's be honest. And I think, like I said, the banks are out to make maximum profit. If the central bank stays silent in what is an obvious extortion, then the central bank is complicit.
Does the idea of making maximum profit override the interest of customers? Without the customers, the banks are nothing. So if you're out to make maximum profit at the expense of your customers, where does that leave our banking system?
By definition, profit is from the customers.
Right.
Any profit any company makes is because they are selling to a customer.
Right.
So whatever the bank makes money off customers. That's just the definition of profit. Whatever you're selling to your customer base.
Right.
You're charging them for the service
So
or the
is this
product.
making the money or ripping the customers off?
That's a matter of ethics.
And who's talking?
And who's talking, yes. So there are some people who are indifferent to a lot of these charges. They don't feel it. I won't go as far as calling it a rip-off. However, I will still say that if a bank can do something, they should. And that goes both ways. If a bank can get away with what you call ripping customers off, they would attempt it.
Let's stay with the ATM before we move away, because we have a long distance to cover. So the ATM, there's been argument as to the health, if I may borrow the word, of the machines. Some have argued that these machines
that's near irrelevant, to be honest with you. The machine is designed to disburse money.
Yes, because people are saying that the reason why these machines break down all the time is because
they're not maintained properly. Look, let's leave it as what it is. I don't want to digress into the discussion of whether the machine can or cannot, because before this issue of when ATM started, this issue didn't come up. An ATM started not too long ago, maybe in the last 15, 17 years. Yeah. This issue didn't come up. I've worked outside the country. The ATMs outside the country don't have this issue. The issue before the 65 naira.
And we don't make these machines here.
Right.
Before the 65 naira, nobody had issues with disbursing 40,000. All of a sudden, when there's money to be made, and I think it's just unethical, in my opinion. A machine can give out 40,000 naira, but because you're making money, and a lot of the things, the practices within the economy at large are what I like to call, what Excel calls secular errors. You are just going to get an error. For example, if you're telling a bank that they will make money from the number of disbursements they make and not the amount of disbursements, then they would make sure that they maximize the number of. In fact, this 10,000 you're talking. What if a bank says you can't withdraw more than 5,000 at a time? If for every disbursement after 3 in a whole flipping month, you're going to charge 65 naira, every bank is going to reduce it. It's not. If the regulator leaves it as such, then the regulator is complicit and enabling what I consider to be extortion. Now, the difference is,
what I would like to say, though, is has this affected how Nigerians bank? Let's look at the CBN's quest to achieve financial inclusion. Interestingly, the numbers show that things are improving. Now, according to the central bank, the global pursuit of financial inclusion as a vehicle for economic development had a positive effect in Nigeria as the exclusion rate reduced from 53% in 2008 to 46.3% in 2010. In 2012, the CBN launched the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, which aims to further reduce the exclusion rate to 20% by 2020. Remind me when 2020 is again? That's next year. Now, last June, 8 weeks from now, the CBN said the country's unbanked population currently stood at 37%, but lamented that it had not done much to ensure that more Nigerians are included. But the exclusion rate is reducing, which is a good thing. It means more people are being mopped up by these banks. More people are putting their monies in the banks. So it looks like the customers are happy.
well, you can't. You would have to divorce the two issues. That I'm putting money in the bank is good, and that is what financial inclusion policy should be achieving. Does not mean I'm happy the manner in which I'm taking it out. And also, let's also remember that the ATM charges are when you use one bank's card on another bank's ATM.
Right,
so if you have the option, so if banks as a strategy, if you could decide therefore to have a lot more accessible ATM machines, in which case I'll realize that I can open an account with you and not get charged, especially if I do a lot of ATM withdrawals. So that is an option. So me personally, I use only 2 ATMs. There's a particular ATM that gives only mint notes.
Oh, you're part of that clique too. I've heard of that ATM.
Every other thing I need cash for, and I try not to use cash. I try to use my POS and my ATM card as much as possible.
Right.
Now with this 15 naira thing, you're starting to ask yourself, it's not that the 15 naira for me personally, and I'm speaking from my perspective, it's not that 15 naira on the transactions is that massive. However, there are some people that 15 naira they spend a lot multiple times. So somebody low income person who does on business or whatever 3-4 transactions of 1,000 naira every day, for that person it's unreasonable to be charging 15 naira for every single transaction. Now what Wemimo was saying, since 2010 I tracked the impact of electronic banking, and you find that from 2010, for example, the number of check transactions in Nigeria has reduced from 40 million to less than 5 million.
Oh, wow.
That's good. Now, the number of ATM transactions has gone from less than 100 million a year in 2010 to 900 million in 2018.
Amazing.
All of this is good. POS transactions from near zero in 2010, we had in 2018 over 300 million POS transactions. Right? Now, mobile payments has gone from under 2 million in 2010 to over 90 million in 2020. So all of this shows we're going in the right direction.
Is the way to go.
It's the way to go.
How about this 15 naira charge?
Now, this 15 naira charge has not lasted long enough for us to track the impact.
Right.
You need to go on for at least 9 months for you to be able to see if there's any impact, because you have to trend it and do an analysis, regression analysis. However, I can tell you for free, based on my behavior, based on the behavior of everybody I know.
Yeah, I mean, for all of
us here, if I am now using the ATM more, so you're going to find that ATM transactions will spike and POS transactions will drop. Because
naturally,
where I can pay 2, 3, 4,000, buy petrol, go to the market, buy something where I would have just swiped my card and moved along, I'm not.
Is there an economic consequence to this?
Is that yes, there is. So there is an economic consequence to it in a slightly complicated way, but the economists would understand that. I think we can ask Tunji when he comes in. Part of the component of your GDP is something called velocity of money.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which means that your
velocity
GDP,
of money.
yes, your GDP tends to grow faster the more you can turn money around, i.e., and that is done via electronic payments. Cash and checks are significantly slower. So look at it this way. I give you a check, which is one of the slowest forms. I give you the check, you take it to the bank the next day, it goes for clearing. So that money is not available for you for 3-4 days.
Right.
But if I give you cash, you hold the cash, maybe at the end of the day, you take it to the bank, that cash is not available for you till the next day. But if I do a transfer on my phone, it's available to you instantly.
Immediately.
Which means that the 1,000 naira I give you, in the time frame of a check, it might have gone to 40, 50 people. That velocity of money affects GDP positively. So once you do anything that shrinks your velocity of money, your GDP is going to shrink.
Well, this 50 naira charge is called stamp duty. So let's come back to talk about stamp duties after the break. I'm wondering why we need a stamp duty on money. So that's why Zil is here.
Yeah, you have to put a stamp on the money.
Do we? I mean, there's no stamp on it. So what am I paying? Guys, we'll talk about this some more after the break. This is the Money Crossfire. And today we're looking at bank charges and how it will affect cash policy. Are we moving forward? Is this a good way to go, or are we going backwards? And what really should we be aiming to do? We're live on Facebook, also on YouTube at Nigeria Info FM. You can watch us there. Leave us your comments. Also on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. Feel free to use the hashtag Money Crossfire if you want to join us on WhatsApp for your comments. I'm sure WhatsApp is full right now. We'll read some of them before we open the phone lines. The WhatsApp number is 08095975805. We will be back shortly. We're here in the studio with Zil Akaraiwe and what?
You got it.
I rehearsed. We'll be back in a moment. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry.
#1 talk news and sports station. This is the Morning Crossfire with Wemimo and Sheriff.
We're having a fantastic conversation here in the studio because it affects everyone. We're talking money here, guys. Money. I mean, everyone is involved. We're looking at bank charges and how they affect cashless policy in Nigeria. We improved over the years. Are we expecting a downturn in coming months with the introduction of various charges across banks? I mean, almost any transaction you want to do now, you need to pay for it.
Right.
In some instances, I mean, you keep your money in the bank, there's payment. You want to take it out, there's payment. You want to spend the money in society, you're paying. So how is this going to overall affect how we do business and the economy as a whole? We're live on Facebook and YouTube. We're live there. You can watch us anywhere you are in the world. If you're not in Nigeria, always you can listen to us on our website, nigeriainfo.fm. You can also always reach us on WhatsApp 08095975805. We're back from the break and we're speaking with Zil Akaraiwe, who is a financial analyst. Zil, thanks for being here still.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry. Many thanks to our listeners and viewers online. They've been quite interactive online. If you're not part of our online community yet, please go and join the conversation already going on.
You'll talk money and people won't talk. Oh no, look at comments all over the place.
All over the place. So it's
Ooh,
Nigeria
gosh.
Info 99.3 on Facebook and YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3. Tweet us at Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. That's at Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. Keep dropping your thoughts.
I think I should read some of these comments.
We'll get to it.
Otherwise, we'll be overwhelmed. There are too many.
They're just chipping in. So conversation already going on online. Let's get on with some of the comments.
Right, let me read some from WhatsApp. There's no name on this one. Please include your name when you send your message. Raphael Adekoke from Lakwe here says, okay, no, this is the wrong message. Okay, so where do we start from? It's an engineer of social. What does that mean? It says what Nigeria government is doing now is this guy's so dramatic. To be a Nigerian, it puts it in quotes. To be a Nigerian citizen now, you have to pay. Come on. It says forex, you pay. A lot, you pay. Card maintenance, you pay. Trekking on the road, you pay. Buying food, you pay. Eating food, you pay. Please help us check on countries in West Africa who pay less, so that some of us can migrate there. Well, you just do a quick search online. You'll be helped. Joseph from Lekki says ATM machines have to build up speed for each dispensing before counting. This then increases the wear and tear geometrically when dispenses fewer notes. Okay, I think that's the explanation the banks were given. No comment. I can't read if you have no name. Prince here says, for me, all the various charges is still less compared to convenience, safety, and dynamism I enjoy with cashless and transactions. So he does not mind paying for the convenience. Deji from Festic says, good morning. Until the CBN wakes up to its responsibility to make decisions that are best for the economy and not a few pockets, we'll continue having these problems. Femi says, I now hold cash to do everything, unlike previously when I was cashless. And this one from Paul from Ota, the bank charges in Nigeria are frustrating. My bank charges me even if I'm withdrawing from their ATM. Really now?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now that's
weird.
Let me take some from Facebook very quickly. Chibuike Fab here says, PMB and his ill thoughts and wrongly implemented policies aims at impoverishing the people. Well, what's the president got to do with this, if you can tell me? Says, what's all the hue and cry about a cashless policy when I am ridiculously billed for using a POS machine? Adedamola Fakoya says, I think the federal government's policy on cashless and introduction of tariffs on POS transfer is a wrong step in the wrong direction. Omar Resule Eric, good morning, guys. Says, I've turned my home and office into a bank already. My compound already has rabbit holes where I can save money. Thanks to CBN bad policies and illegal taxing. We have to stop here for now.
Indeed. Zio, let me let's start this round. It's 8:34, 28 seconds. So time matters a lot in this conversation. Let's pick up from where the last message dropped it off from. People, the result, the attending consequence of excessive bank charges. Is this a negative? Will it have any impact, negative or positive, on cashless policy of the federal government?
I think from all the comments we've read, I think the answer is pretty obvious. And I think where the error has come in from the central bank in ignoring what is going on or being an accessory to this is that the cashless policy is a policy aimed at changing behavior.
Right.
We're trying to change the culture of holding cash to get everybody comfortable to using electronic modes of payment. Now, that culture change takes time. And whatever policies you're bringing out, you must weigh it against the impact on people's behavior.
Indeed.
So this is slightly more than economics. This also has a lot to do with psychology. What you want people to do, you have to make it easy for them to do it. The moment you make it difficult or expensive, they will not do it. And so the entire cashless policy is now at risk because the cashless policy is a behavioral change. If you are therefore now allowing practices that impede that behavioral change, you are going to lose the mileage you've gotten over the last 8 years.
Let's look at what the CBN said this year. There was a circular dated September 17th.
Circular.
Yeah, circular.
4 lines or so.
Where the CBN's Director of Payment System Management Department, Sam Okojere, instructed deposit money banks to implement the policy starting from September 18. What policy? On the 18th of September, the cashless policy was said to it will begin to take effect in 6 states and the FCT, but will be implemented nationwide from March 2020. The CBN says Nigeria would now be charged more for cash deposits and withdrawals in furtherance of its cashless policy. Let's break this down. So what the cashless policy aims to do is to make sure that you don't hold cash.
Exactly.
And you don't spend cash. So from March 2020, but now the CBN even instructed money banks to start implementing the policy from September 18. But nationwide, this will begin March 2020. Please help me understand this. The CBN is trying to make me not hold money, but then it's charging me for using electronic systems. So what am I supposed to do?
That then is the conflict in policy, where the policy and the drive for profitability impedes the behavioral change you are trying to achieve. And so we announce bringing policies that are contrary to what we're trying to achieve. We want the country to go cashless. I mean, no country is ever fully cashless, but to go as cashless as possible, because to be honest with you, dealing with cash is very expensive.
Right.
Very, very, very expensive. So let's move it. It is also beneficial and safer to have electronic banking. So let's move everybody to electronic banking. That is a laudable, and from the data I gave out earlier, it shows we are making good mileage on that.
Right.
Whenever you're bringing out another policy, you have to wait. What will be the psychological understanding? It does not matter what you're trying to achieve. It does not matter what you're saying. What will be the understanding of this policy regarding a behavioral change? And we're seeing it. If I'm getting comfortable using a POS, but you want to charge me for using the POS, but at the same time, you will not charge me for using cash on that same transaction, any rational human being will move to cash.
But with this policy that should be fully implemented nationwide from March 2020, the CBN asked Nigerians will now be charged more.
Not necessarily.
How will this work? Say from March 2020,
so
what would happen with money?
Take Zeal as an example. What will happen to everybody March 2020 is that 500,000 naira in cash, if you lodge more than that on a daily basis into your account, you get charged on the excess. Now, let's be honest. How many individuals will be dealing with cash amounts on a daily basis of 500,000 naira?
to lodge into their account.
I mean,
That's
I
to
don't know.
lodge or to withdraw.
Either way,
Both.
yes. Every single, I mean, it's a daily limit. Don't forget.
You know, but then Zeal, I think we shouldn't generalize it. There
No,
are
hang on.
there are businesses that can actually make
I'm
that kind of
starting
money.
with individuals.
Yeah,
We'll go to
individual businesses
Businesses
actually
limit
that,
is 3
that can
million. Right? The business limit is 3 million. Are there businesses that generate 3 million on a daily basis? Absolutely. Yes. Now, what CBN did in the first instance was to exempt those businesses that do that. So, for example, petrol stations, you can't control that. So, they did some exemptions. So, on largely, I mean, I don't think there's anything that would cover 100% of all the issues. But largely, what's going to happen is I'm just going to make sure that I hold 50, 60,000 naira in cash, which is far below the limit. I can do that every day. So what we're doing is we're forcing people into the area we're trying to divert them from. It doesn't make any sense.
Please clear for me. These different policies, please, did they come from the same source? Yes.
What do you mean by source?
Is a CBN.
You know, CBN, there are different people in CBN.
No, don't even do that. I mean, all of these policies.
Even the CBN governor is different people. It depends on which side.
So it depends on who.
Yes.
So I'm which side of the bed.
It depends on what. Look,
if this is all coming from the CBN.
No, this may be coming from Godwin, and it's different from what Mr. Emefiele will bring out, and it's different from what the CBN.
No, you
governor
can't.
will do.
I refuse for you to confirm.
but I am.
Because it beats me. It beats me.
So,
I mean,
Zeo, let's break this down even further, and let's take it apart one after the other. Let's start with the deposit, the limits, excess of 500,000 naira. Does that encourage cashless policy?
Yes, it does.
The 50 naira charge, does it encourage or discourage cashless policy?
Discourage. They are contrary to each other. The two the implementation of the policies are contrary to each other. There's no doubt about it. Nobody's disputing that. Now, but there's something else I would like us to discuss.
Right.
I would like us to discuss the fact that stamp duties, taxes, duties are fiscal policy issues.
Please, you know, I said that before we went to the break. What is stamp duty? Remember some years ago there was a clash. Remember the NIPOS came out to say, well, they should be the ones collecting stamp duties.
Yep.
That was when the banks woke up to the idea that they could actually collect stamp. So what is this? We know that for the post, there's actually a stamp put on your letter.
No, so that's different.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, stamp duty, are you putting a stamp on the note for me? What exactly is it?
Let's put it this way. Stamp duty is applicable into agreements. You have any agreement, for the agreement to be enforceable in law, the agreement you have to have paid stamp duty on it, and the evidence of paying stamp duty is applying a stamp. That's what the law ballpark says. Now the question is, that is a tax, right? The central bank is tasked with monetary policy.
Right.
Taxes are fiscal policy. The central bank has no purview, no oversight, no relationship, no correlation, no responsibility, no business with fiscal policy.
Right.
So what are they doing here?
So this for me is the issue. Why is the central bank involving itself in fiscal policy? That is a huge overreach. The other day, the CBN governor was talking about border closures and customs. That's fiscal policy.
Right.
By the CBN Act, the objects of the bank are very clear. Monetary policy.
Well, we've also seen executive interfering in Central Bank of Nigeria's jobs before. It's not new.
Yeah, it's not new, but
we kind of like just interfere in each other's business. We don't mind our business. In this country.
agree, but we should all be speaking out against it. It's not proper.
So who should be checking the CBN when it's overstepping its bounds, when it's moving into fiscal policies, which it shouldn't? Who can or who should be checking the CBN?
Well, ordinarily there should be a Senate committee doing that, as far as I'm aware.
Right.
There should be the central bank. Don't forget, has a board of governors. It has a board, and it has a board of governors that, well, theoretically should have oversight over what the central bank is doing. And then there's also a Senate committee. So all those things should be there, but they've kind of over the years the impact has not been felt. So I don't know what they do behind the scenes,
Right.
but the impact has not been felt.
We need to go to the phone lines in a moment.
Yep.
But before we go, I need to ask you just one question. Financial inclusion. All these policy collapse here and there, what impact will it have, or will they have on financial inclusion?
I mean, the drive for financial inclusion will have to go on, because financial inclusion is something that has to be done. What this policy does is that it makes it significantly more difficult for the person who is most of those, not all, but most of those who are who are outside financial inclusion are people very poor.
Right.
People very poor will be extremely sensitive to bank charges. So if they've been transacting cash and they realize that, look, through financial inclusion, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's more convenient to open a bank account and go electronic, they will.
Right.
If tomorrow you make it more expensive to do that, they will pull out
Immediately.
because
Before
they're
we
very
head to the phones,
sensitive.
this 50 naira charge, the CBN came back out to say they had not instructed the merchants to charge this amount. Also, there was a downward review of merchant service charge
Yes.
from 0.75% capped at 1,200 to 0.50% capped at 1,000 naira. What does that mean? What it appears to from this end, it's better business for the merchants, but now the customer is paying. Help me understand this merchant service charge, and the CBN saying it has not asked the merchants to charge this 50 naira.
So there was a circular, I'll try and find it before the show is over, that CBN released. What used to happen was the merchants, the POS users, the POS terminal users, what would happen at the end of the day is all their transactions get bulked by the bank as one credit.
Right.
And there will be a charge on that as a single entity. The CBN circular now instructed the banks to disaggregate those transactions and treat them individually and apply relevant, I'll get the sector for the exact language. What that then means is that where a merchant has done maybe 2 million in a day, the bank at the end of the day credits him 2 million as a single transaction. If you charge that merchant 15 on that 2 million, it's insignificant.
Right.
But now what they're saying is every single transaction, there has to be a charge on a transactional basis.
Wow.
That in itself now is where the issue is coming out.
And
where
of course, the
confusion.
merchants would not want to bear that cost.
Merchant will certainly not
Absolutely
want to
not.
bear that cost. Now, so guess what I've done is I've approached one or two friends that are lawyers and said, look, you know what, I've gone through the Stamp Duty Act. It's not the most straightforward of laws to interpret.
Very complicated. Looks
but
like it was written in Shakespearean English.
Yes, it's very, I didn't like it. However, what is clear to me is that Stamp Duty Act, from the language, is not intended to be a transactional tax.
Okay.
Transactional tax in Nigeria is VAT. VAT is the only tax that, irrespective of what you're doing, you're paying government 5%.
Right.
Stamp duty-
7.5.
Not yet.
Yes.
I'm scared
In
for a
my
second.
mind, I started
Yeah.
playing. I'm already paying.
It's transactional. We understand that.
Right.
Stamp duty is on agreements. Now, unless you want to tell me that when I go and buy tomatoes, there's an agreement, and it's not. It doesn't make sense. Otherwise, just make stamp duty tax VAT.
Right.
Yes, sir. So there's what I've said is I think we should go to the courts for interpretation, which is what I think, and because right now there'll be so many arguments on so many sides, but the arguments are going on, people are bleeding. So let's go to the courts for interpretation. We're not suing anybody. Just, we've read this thing. It doesn't make sense. What does it mean? Is it a transactional tax? In which case, let us know that in Nigeria, everything you do, there's VAT of X, there's stamp duty of Y. Then let us know. Then people can then adjust. The other thing is that if you're applying the stamp duty law on transactions, why is it only POS and not cash? It should be, if it's transactional.
Right.
So right now it sounds like you're penalizing electronic transactions but not cash, which means that the tax is applicable to the mode of payment and not the transaction.
Right, because
which
it's
creates a
easier to
confusion.
track electronic. You can't track all the cash transactions to then
So
put stamp on
again,
them.
from a behavioral point of view, you're now penalizing what you're trying to promote.
Right, indeed.
Doesn't work. Let's head to the phones. The phone lines are buzzing. Guys, you would need to keep your comments to 30 seconds each. If you can, we'll give you the phone numbers. Here they are.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
All right, we're here. We're back.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone line. Ibina voice calling from Ogba. Ibina, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Wemimo and everybody.
Good morning. Morning.
Yeah. Funny enough, I had the opportunity of doing one or two businesses with Central Bank. It will surprise you to know that they don't do transfer, they pay you cash. As in, it's not transferred to your account, irrespective of the amount of the transactions.
Come again.
Okay.
You did business with the CBN and you were paid in cash and not transfer. Did you choose cash?
No, I did not choose cash.
Is this dollar or naira transaction?
Naira transaction. Okay, there was even a pounds transaction involved. It was converted to naira and was paid in that equivalent.
In cash?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Okay, that's
I had to take the money to the bank myself, pay it in, then come back to Lagos to withdraw it.
Wow.
Now that's
So
a big
seriously, I don't understand. Okay, you are saying I should cook soup without oil, and you are using the oil. I don't know how that sounds. It's crazy. And funny enough, for quite a while now, I have about 6 accounts. Of all these 6 accounts, only one of them I'm using ATM for. The rest, I go to the bank to do whatever transaction I want to do.
Wow.
Maybe I foresaw these things coming. I don't know. But that's just the way I've kept it.
Ibina, thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
I think we have to learn from you at the end of the day.
DJ Constance, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, bro. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for this enlightenment. Thank you for this bit of education on especially on the POS system. Look, I don't know what is actually happening because if you went some part of Ogun State, though, you find people withdrawing money. 1,000 naira is 50 naira. Now, if you want to collect 50,000, you'll be losing 2,500 naira. But if you come into Lagos, especially in the Lekki area, the POS, they tell you 1,000 for any amount you withdraw. So what is actually happening with the charges?
I think that's why Zeal said to go to court, but it looks like the merchants have decided to interpret it in different ways.
Exactly. Zeal, how can we interpret this appropriately? Is it for every 1,000 naira or for transactions above 1,000 naira?
So if I do a transaction of 5,000 naira, I should pay 50 naira, or I should pay 50 times 4.
No, I think it's transactions above 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira. So what caused the confusion is the circular of CBN, and the clause specifically says banks shall unbundle merchant settlement amount. So before, those amounts were bundled as a single transaction.
Right.
CBN says banks shall unbundle merchant settlement amount and charge applicable taxes and duties on individual transactions as stipulated by regulations. That's what's causing the confusion. So nobody knows. I can assure you, everybody will err on the side of caution of, I don't want the money to be taken. I don't want to
So I'd rather
take more than I'll find out later that I didn't have to take it. I'm not going to refund it in any case.
Indeed. Ferdinand, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, our financial expert.
Good morning.
Yeah, the truth is that cashless policy is good, but the government is using it to victimize the citizen. Secondly, can anyone call CBN to order because they're overstepping their boundary? Very soon, CBN will be awarding road contracts in Nigeria. They are getting involved in more physical policies than financial policy, and that is so worrisome. Please, let's call them to order. This is just the CBN board is acting as if he's not a financial expert. So let there be orderliness anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
Ferdinand, thank you for calling.
Let's head to Twitter and make some comments from here. King also says is listening from South Africa. The problem is that some companies continue to debit my account even when I've finished paying my installments. Such he thinks is greed. I'm not sure I understand precisely what that is. But okay, we have this one. Someone wrote a poem on this. Really though? Really? Emmanuel Hieme on Twitter says, the problem I have with policies in Nigeria is that the government wants to make money from every single policy put out, and they find a way to justify it. It's wrong to charge customers using ATM and also charge them monthly maintenance fee. Jamil here says issuing bank charges here in Nigeria is a very big issue, and we all rely on CPD of CBN, but unfortunately on this issue CPD collaborates with banks. Even if you discover irregularity with the banks, CPD cannot react. Joy Forever says we're not ready for cashless system. Now people will be keeping more cash. It means stealing and robbery may increase. Some banks make 10,000 maximum withdrawal from ATM. Stamp duty, ATM maintenance fees, pure extortion and overtaxing.
Let's speak of Wale. Wale, thank you for holding the line. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Okay, yes, I just want to talk about the stamp duty. Well, yeah, if you look at it, you see that the relationship between bankers and their customers are contractual in the sense that either party can sue in each transaction. Now, if you look at our checkbook, we see that there is a stamp duty that is being paid on it from the time immemorial. And then when a deposit is paid into a bank, the customer can also sue if probably I pay 10,000 naira and it is recorded as 5,000. And for that document to be admissible at the law court, it must have evidence of a stamp duty on it.
That made it a contractual agreement.
Yes, the only problem I have is that just like our checkbook, each deposit slip must also carry that logo of a stamp duty. Do you understand? Because it's been generated electronically now. So I think it's a legal issue, and we should not look at it. And you pay money. That the same what we are paying now is what we pay on each leaf of our checkbook. Do you understand?
So whichever way you turn, you would pay it.
So yes. So I expect that logo of the stamp duty must be on the deposit slip that is given to each customer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We need to wrap it up here. We can't take all the comments. They're just streaming in, but we need to go. This conversation, of course, continues on our Twitter handle at Nigeria Info FM, and we'll keep talking later on. No, we can't.
Apologies to our viewers on Facebook. Hopefully we'll
and
be able
YouTube.
And YouTube as well.
But I'm very sure you've been enlightened. I mean, the last caller said you can sue. Feel free to sue. You're welcome to. Thank you so much, Zeal, for joining us on the show today. Zeal Akarewe is a financial analyst. We also thank Tosia Kinride, Ivonka for Zainab Yakin and the newsroom for that report. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more conversations. I will be seeing you on Monday morning. Yeah, I'm going out. I'll see you. Please have a good day. More economic issues coming up with Tunji Andrews after the break. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sharif Quadry.
More talk, news and sports after this.